Hi everyone, welcome to this vlog and an introduction to the airplane philosophy. My name is Henrik Göthberg. I represent the Airplane Alliance Council, where Derdax together with Grundfos and Scania are the first founding members driving how to work together to peer-to-peer to co-create open source we call Airplane. With this vlog, I want to introduce you to the airplane philosophy, and we are using it basically to set the context for the Airplane Alliance co-creation sessions and work groups that are coming up. So we are creating now several work groups that will work on different facets of becoming data and AI ready: data science, data engineering, data governance, how to become a business solution owner or digital officer. And essentially now, instead of taking a lot of time in our co-creation sessions of this sort of background, giving the whole context, we thought it would be better to do this as a vlog, to share it outside the Alliance, but also for the Alliance members, so to have a more efficient co-creation session, and we can move straight to the more operational topics. But here it is. Here is sort of the founding ideas behind the Airplane. Now, and it's very much with getting a grip of the data and AI readiness challenge for a traditional enterprise with a legacy, and what it means to evolve to what we call the new core. So the new core is the new type of company, which is a data and AI driven company to the fullest, still with an expertise and a leadership in the domain where they are coming from. So if you're in Scania, it's in transportation, but how to become a player in the transportation ecosystem. If you're in energy, how to go from becoming a utility, the traditional one, to become a strong player in the utility ecosystem. If you're a doctor, how to become a modern doctor and a modern department which is augmented with AI and stuff like this. So here we see it is a strategic challenge that we need to address or understand, that dictates that there are new types of capabilities needed, or the way we need to orchestrate work is fundamentally different. And ultimately, when we have understood that, it drives us to basically come with some new ways of looking at how our ways of working is looking like. So in a nutshell, this is the background that I want to give all of you before, as a context for all the work groups working with Airplane on a more operational level. Now, so the first idea is basically to recognize that we are right at the cusp of shifting from one macro life cycle to another one. And when I say macro life cycle, I highlight this in the world, like we went from an agricultural society and that macro life cycle to an industrial society and into a data and AI first society. And the key idea here is basically to really recognize that the way you have to organize yourself when you are in the pioneering stage, when you're in the early stages of the life cycle, compared to where you are in a mature life cycle, is very different. So we have this journey now that we have the legacy organizations that have been successful in the industrial society. They need to reset and reboot their thinking. How do we organize and drive work when we're now pioneers in essentially a new business arena? So we need to redefine ourselves. So in Scania, redefining yourself from a truck manufacturer to become a transport ecosystem player, as an example. Grundfos reinventing themselves from becoming being a water pump company to become a company that works with intelligent water and the whole ecosystem of intelligent water. So what is this pivot all about? Now, in a nutshell, to really better understand this, we talk about a couple of core concepts. The first one is basically that moving into the new core means that you need to unleash intersectional innovation. So the new core will happen when your legacy leadership and expertise work closely with new data and AI and digital expertise in order to make up what becomes the new company, what becomes the new core. And if you go into that in some more detail, that is really tricky, because it essentially means we need to orchestrate many different facets to come together in order to create value. So the use case, you need to understand the use case from whatever domain you're in. So you need to have your domain expert. Then you need to have your technology expert that can build data pipelines or data platforms. We need to have the data scientists or AI experts who can build algorithms. We need to have someone who can understand if we have the right data and data assets and that we are managing them in a compliant way. And all this needs to come down and put in a context of what technology stack we're going to use and how we're going to operationalize our way on this technology stack. And this becomes even more important talking about concepts like DevOps, infrastructure as code, etc., where basically what is technology and what is process becomes more and more blurred. So this is one key concept, which is basically highlighting the need for orchestration. The core idea is that if you're missing some of these ingredients, you will not get to value. It's a multiplier effect. Another key dimension that we believe strongly in that sets the scene is what we highlight as perpetual innovation. So if you're coming from a mature view of your process, how you produce pumps or how you produce trucks, you have basically your processes lined up. All of a sudden now, these processes will be, for the last foreseeable future, day by day infused with more data and AI in order to make them more efficient, more faster and more automated. And that will not happen overnight, but it will more or less mean that the core process needs to be thought as a life cycle. How we take features and new ideas and basically start adding them in a structured way into the core processes while the core processes are running. So these fundamental ideas of intersectional and perpetual innovation puts the foundation for how to think around your journey. And now another key topic in the larger enterprise setting is what we call the enterprise dare dilemma. So here we have the fundamental challenge that in one way, use case value will happen at the very operational level of each use case. This is happening within the project, within the line organization, very down on one sub-task or one sub-unit. So the operational value is happening on a very micro level, but at the same time, if all the different operating units in a company is inventing different ways of doing this work, it will be completely fragmented and anarchy. If you go to the other approach and you're trying to stay on this high level view of doing architecture that's perfect for everyone, if every single use case should consider all the rest of the company, it will not fly either, because it's basically too slow and too cumbersome. So we have this dilemma to deal with. So all these ideas that I've just now summarized, they basically, from this, we distill the airplane philosophy. And we say the focus must be to orchestrate a dare engine, a systematic, balanced lifecycle approach to drive data and AI innovation and adoption into industrialization. So focus on the engine itself to build an engine that is perpetually improving the company or the way we work. And this engine must be balanced. So the engine, the way it's set up, needs to deal with the orchestration problem. So we are dealing with the different facets in a good way, so they all come together as one. The dare engine must address continuous learning. So we need to have a way that the engine, what we're doing in one part of the company, is harvested so we can reuse it and stabilize it for the whole company. And ultimately, the engine must address the enterprise dare dilemma. So it must address how we are sharing across the organization, where the traditional functional organization steering and mandate simply is not enough because we need to make it work cross-functional, and we need to work within different tribes and different parts of the organization. So the Tayloristic, hierarchical way of cascading information is dead. It's simply not fast enough. We need something else. Now, in a nutshell now, that philosophy, we have tried to draw a simple diagram or picture what that is all about. And this is what you see here. So basically, in summary, in order to go to the new core, focus on building the engine that takes you there. And the way you want to build the engine is so it, by use case, is improving, production value out of data and AI, but at the same time stabilizing your data and AI DNA. So in a way, what I'm saying is that how do we make sure that people can work on a use case level, and whatever is done on a use case level is harvested so it can be shared, and ultimately when it's shared it can stabilize processes and the way we do things around here. So taking something from having done successful in one use case and making that the standard or best practice for everybody to from now be able to utilize. And in this way, if we do this, we are growing our reusable assets of data and data pipelines and algorithms. We are over time stabilizing our technology stack and the operating procedures we have. And we are now at the same time also stabilizing the way we look at the different roles, the competences, the leadership and stuff like that. Now, this is in a nutshell what the airplane philosophy is all about. Let's now dig more, let's dig a little bit more into it so we get to the place where the co-creation session can start. Now, airplane in this way now is basically set up that this engine, we are trying to secure that we are creating a common vocabulary and artifacts and ideas, so how we understand how to drive a use case. So basically the use case needs to be driven from idea to production. This is clear. And it needs to be done in a balanced way. And the balanced way is personified in this philosophy with the Airplane Core 3 team. So in a sense, not necessarily the 3 job descriptions, but 3 fundamental key perspectives of the business solution and usability perspective, the actual analytics algorithm perspective, and the platform data pipeline, data flow perspective. So the core ingredients that we need to have work. And the idea is, of course, to understand from all these perspectives what needs to happen in the idea phase, what needs to happen in the alpha phase, the beta phase, the ramp up phase, etc. Now, and to take this one step further, we are subscribing to a lean startup inspired way, where basically we are trying to prioritize our work. So we basically are doing the bare minimum for the first MVP. And then we are basically, if that's the light version of our use case, we are dressing that up in the most smartest way to get to the next level of this solution, and to the third level of this solution. And in this way, basically being able to think carefully how we invest our time and our resources. So basically, we are not doing all the heavy lifting in the beginning. So we have the shortest route to failing or discarding an initiative as well. So in a sense, on a strategic level, we build up a use case portfolio, and where we basically then drive decisions, how we start several in idea phase, and basically only the unicorn use cases, so to speak, makes it all the way to production. So this is a very different view, different outset than to do waterfall project management, where everything is done up front and everything is supposed to go to production. And it's a very different outlook than when we are doing piloting and basically not knowing when a pilot should turn into production. So here we have the philosophy, everything has the opportunity to become a unicorn in production, but we're having a structured way when to fail and when to leave things. Now, with this in mind now, if I zoom in one more level, here we get to the point where basically we can see the whole their engine, all the different building blocks. So now I have sort of peeled the onion one more time, and we are now looking into the holistic topic of some core dimension that we need to orchestrate. And you can see now we have the phases, we have the core team types of perspectives we need to take, and we have the core things that needs to be worked on. Now, what you also can see here when you follow this, you want to harvest what has been done here, not only in terms of the use case, but if you have invented infrastructure as code, if you have built up a GitHub repository, if you have built up a new role description or templates, of course that should flow into the actual communities where the experts that are data scientists in the whole company is then very fast sharing best practices with each other. And then on the last level here, connecting our decision making to who really knows their stuff. So instead of having decision making done in a Tayloristic way based on rank, it's really based on who has the relevant knowledge to take these decisions. Good. Now with this, let's now move into this co-creation session, what this will be all about today. So if you can imagine now, the way we want to work on, we want to co-create on this airplane philosophy on the next level of detail. So basically stabilizing checklists, methodologies, the processes, etc. So when we are working together, we are working on this open source level. So basically, on the one hand, we will have what we call Airplane Dare Engine Navigator sessions, where we look at the holistic picture, of the fundamental views of the life cycles and stuff like that. And then we will have different expert chapters and work groups working from their perspective. So right now we are coming up with a data science work group and co-creation session. So we will then now look into the data scientist or analytical asset owner perspective of this workflow. And in June we will do the same for the business solution owner, and we will continue. And beyond that also, I would like to highlight that, of course, if we can co-create on this generic level, we want to now be able to take that home to basically make it into a company specific implementation for one company, so it fits the lingo of this company, for instance. And in the same way now, with the experts that are helping us to build Airplane, I'm referring to Alliance affiliated expert like Scale-Out, Agile Lab, Skling, etc. Of course, when they have worked on even on a more coding level, we can now also highlight what is available to accelerate even further in terms of utilizing a platform setup or a framework or a GitHub repository. And for Scale Out or Agile Lab, etc., it becomes an idea then that very easily fitting into this lifecycle view makes it very easy to highlight how to use their tool sets or pre-built stuff. Also, I would like to highlight that we are doing these co-creation sessions now based on our co-creation platform, the Airplane Alliance co-creation platform, which is essentially based on Microsoft Teams collaboration technology. And now, but we are pre-populating it with planner boards, with Wikipedias, with files that goes into this. And the long-term vision here is basically that Daredux will run in the council will run the generic platform, and then each company that is sort of working with Airplane, especially the council members, have the opportunity to set up a clone of this platform to basically do this exactly the same setup internally in their global company, and in this way saving a lot of time by cloning what we have done generically and then start tweaking from here instead of setting everything up from scratch. So for me, I think I want to stop right here. This is some ideas, and the rest of this we will take in the co-creation sessions. For now, I look forward meeting you all and talking to you all and continue working with you. Thank you very much.